Why the did Netflix tag the Jeffrey Dahmer documentary LGBTQ? Like, I know it's technically true, but this is not the representation we're looking for.
Wow, what a wild turn of events. Now, I talked about earlier in the week some bizarre backlash for a docuseries on Netflix called Dahmer, Monster, the Jeffrey Dahmer story. And I talked about how I watched the first 3 or 4 episodes and got pretty bored with it. And that's mostly because I had already seen everything that was in episode 1, 2, and 3 and other documentaries about him. And I thought it was a pretty much a shot-for-shot remake. People said dig back in, so I did, and it definitely did get better. I'm not done with it all the way. I think I watched 2 more episodes last night, maybe 2.5, and it definitely does get better. There's more like in the interview with law enforcement and some other stuff that I won't go into that I didn't necessarily know about. So it is kind of like, it's been pretty interesting. But a few days ago, we talked about Netflix getting all sorts of backlash for tagging the movie, like categorizing the movie as an LGBTQ story, which it undeniably is. And not just because Jeffrey Dahmer was gay, but because it is undeniably an LGBTQ story. He specifically sought men in that community. The general thought is that he was able to act with impunity for longer than normal because he was essentially targeting gay black men. And the point, or the narrative, even in the documentary, it's really not a documentary, it's a movie really, is that it's legitimately, that's the case, that the cops were like, oh, we don't want to talk about gay stuff, so we're going to look the other way. This is like a forgotten community. So it's undeniably an LGBTQ community. But Netflix bent the knee in the most hilarious of ways. And I'm going to get into all that after a super quick word from this video sponsor, Private Internet Access. Huge shout out to this video sponsor, Private Internet Access. Now, you know Private Internet Access has been with the channel for a very long time, but it's also the world's most transparent VPN provider. With over 30 million downloads, they never record or store data, and their no logs policy has been proven multiple times in court. Private Internet Access hides your IP address and encrypts your internet connection. And Private Internet Access also comes with loads of entertainment benefits. The VPN works with all major streaming services, so you can access more content than ever before anywhere in the world. Plus, it's one of the few VPNs that support P2P file sharing. And if you don't already have a VPN, signing up for Private Internet Access is risk-free. There's a 30-day money-back guarantee with 24/7 customer support available. Private Internet Access has world-class next-gen server infrastructure covering 83 countries, each and every United States state as well. And you can protect up to 10 devices at a time with Private Internet Access. Most other VPN support fewer connections, so you get a lot more bang for your buck with Private Internet Access. And since their VPN is 100% open source and their code is public, anyone can take a look under the hood. And today, I have a special offer for you in the description below and in the pinned comment. Make sure you pick up Private Internet Access today using my link and save huge. If you're using a streaming service, I promise you will unlock so much more content than you ever imagined, not to mention all the security features that they offer as well, so make sure you pick it up. Netflix drops the LGBTQ tag on the Dahmer series amid backlash. You have categories were ominous, psychological, horror, and LGBTQ. And of course, you're getting mercilessly dunked on. Well, here's my reply. What a sad day for representation. Wait, the quartering is the actor cis? Oh my, is the actor cis? Oh my God, must investigate. So representation is actually bad. The G stands for gay. He was gay. The fact that he was also a psychopath doesn't change that fact. 1,000 likes. I'm disgusted that they didn't actually cast an LGBTQ serial maniac to play the part. Why not a black guy as Jeffrey? I mean, like, Nothing exists except an endless present in which the party is always right. He was LGBTQ. You should be ashamed, bigots. I mean, part of, I think, some people would say that that's what, the shame and things like that he felt, where he felt shame for how he was. This community was persecuted, especially at the time. It was the early 90s. It wasn't exactly, we had the AIDS kind of fever at that time. A lot of this story, you see, he was gay. Everyone familiar knows this. Why not use the tag for maximum exposure? We want to be represented, but only in a good light. Oh, is that what it is? Look, I don't think that there's anything like the things that he did are independent from whom he slept with to a point, but it was also a huge part of the story. It's where he picked all of his victims. They were all in gay clubs. Okay? Like, what are you talking about? The relationship with his father that they spend so much time in the documentary talking about is strayed and frayed because his dad doesn't want to accept who he is. The relationship with his grandmother, whom he lives with after being kicked out of the army, is strayed and frayed because she's a religious woman and she doesn't want to accept who he is. The entire story, in fact, through 5 episodes, more of the story has been a love story, essentially, an LGBTQ love story, than anything else. So it's, of course, ridiculous that you would remove it. Netflix is no longer using the LGBTQ tag on its controversial series about Dahmer following a furious backlash. The streamer service is not given an official reason for dropping the tag, but however, it's following days worth of outrage, online disgusted viewers, many of whom tagged Netflix. Why the F did Netflix tag this as LGBTQ? One person said. I mean, it's obvious if you actually watch it. It's obvious if you actually know like anything about the actual story. It's super obvious. Others shared screenshots on Twitter saying the series which outraged relatives. That I understand. Imagine clicking on the LGBT category and this is what you get. I mean, it is. It's undeniably an LGBTQ story. Someone calls it F to be marketing it this way. We do not claim him. Sorry. You don't get to pick who you claim. I don't view, and I don't think anybody views the LGBTQ community different because of him. I think that you couldn't even make that case because most people just knew he was a psychopath, and they're not like the story isn't necessarily that people walk away with is that he was gay. It was that he ate people. That's like a side note, and for most people nowadays. But the story itself was undeniably LGBTQ. Quote, this Dahmer case was a huge part of LGBTQ history. It's important people know why he got away with so much, one person said. Not everyone is outraged. Others suggesting the key theme highlighted by the true crime series was how phobia may have played a part in the cops failing to investigate him sooner. Now, of course, this is something that's denied by both police on the case and the prosecutor nowadays, but I definitely could see. I could definitely see that. I mean, I remember most people, even if they're not familiar with the intimate details, there's obviously a case where he was with somebody who was very young, who was totally out of it. He told the officer that it was his boyfriend, and they let him take him back in. Like, I'm not sure that works out that way if he's with a young girl. I mean, I just don't know that. There are cases where people, calls everything homophobic or whatever. This is one of those cases where, like, yeah, I don't think by the way, in a black neighborhood, extremely black neighborhood, where like a white guy with like a young girl, I don't think they would have passed up on that. Now, the case itself, the thing is, in the community that a lot of these guys ran in, it was one of secrets, and a lot of these guys, they weren't out at home, so they weren't telling people where they really were. I mean, there was a case where even in the docuseries where it's pretty clear, I'm pretty sure that the mom knew her son was gay, but didn't tell the cops that, and instead told them that he went to the movies with a friend or something like that, even though she knew, excuse me, that he was gay. So, I mean, yeah, it's absolutely a part of that. And I'm obviously, I'm not in that community, but there's no doubt in my mind that many members of the LGBTQ community, in particular in Milwaukee, were probably living in fear. The idea where he got specifically kicked out of bathhouses because he kept slipping Mickeys to people. Like, that part is true. Like, bathhouses are explicitly LGBTQ as far as I know. I've never been to one, but I mean, at least in Milwaukee they were. Greeks have bathhouses, I guess. So I don't know. But like, these ones were like hookup rooms. They were by the clubs and they'd go hook up. You'll see most of his people were black. The show depicts cops being sickened by the gay lifestyle. Maybe not. This is probably all anecdotal. I mean, they weren't there. Right? We're also looking at it through 2022 eyes. There's a lot of fiction in this story, too. You see, with the guide of the original reporting from the Milwaukee Journal Sentinel and Milwaukee Sentinel, as well as former Journal reporter Annie Schwartz's book on the topic, here's a look at what's fact and fiction. Episode 1, Glenda Cleveland did not live in the Oxford apartment building. One of the biggest changes to the real events in the character is Glenda Cleveland. In the show, she lives adjacent to Jeffrey, who resides in apartment 213. The real-life Cleveland lived in a building next door. It seemed likely that the show attempted to amalgamate Cleveland and the neighbor Pamela Bass into one character. It's Bass who said that he made sandwiches for other people in the building, which became the subject of an unsettling exchange between Dahmer and Cleveland characters later in the show. The Milwaukee police incident on the news might not have happened. Dahmer did show him The Exorcist. It was The Exorcist Part 2, I believe, or 3. Yeah, 3. How many locks were on the door? There's all sorts of stuff. You see, Milwaukee police officers did return a victim to Dahmer, then radioed about needing to be deloused. That happened. So, I mean, it's like, yeah, those guys were a little, skeezed out. They weren't ready, He did take a mannequin from a Boston store. The convictions were real. It's a lot of the stuff is real, but a lot of it does take other how do I say, liberties. He did work at the blood bank, but he did not take and drink the bags. He said he tried a vial to see how it tasted and did so on the roof of the center. So, I mean, like, there are certain things that they're taking liberties with, and I don't want to read anymore because I'm not further in the series. But the fact that Netflix, I mean, representation matters. What a truly sad day. Either way, it's been a pretty interesting series that I'm glad I gave a second chance to. It's been pretty well acted, too. I like this guy from American Horror Story, and I think he plays Jeffrey pretty good. Although he does kind of seem like Kip from Napoleon Dynamite. I hope you enjoyed this video. We'll talk to you again real soon.